now tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Well, we're not going to expect the crowds that we normally have today because guess who's in Facebook jail? Yes, me. It's crazy, but there you have it. I'm in Facebook jail, so I'm just reminding everyone that we can only be viewed on YouTube today. So good morning to Irvelyn. Thank you guys so much. Good morning, Addison Ray. She says, I'm here. Is this Miss Morna? Thank you so much. I know a lot of you don't necessarily have YouTube accounts, so you might be able to watch on YouTube, but maybe you won't be commenting. I'm not sure. This is going to be quite an interesting day today. We have a number of things on our agenda to talk about, so we're going to kick it off here shortly. I don't know what's going on with our KISS people. Is KISS 106 in the studio today? Let me just shoot them a quick message to make sure that they are going to be joining us. We got the tea. We're going to do our weekend recap and Queen's birthday recap. What else have we got? Quite a few things on the agenda. Let me just check in with the guys over at KISS. Yeah, so they were looking for me on Facebook. That's why they haven't yet joined. So they will be joining us here in a second. So we're going to get this party started. How was your weekend, folks? Tell me what is going on. Yes, as you guys see, I'm in Facebook jail, and I'm going to tell you all about that here in a second. Have you ever been in Facebook jail before? It's a very interesting place to be. Let me put it that way. It's obviously a virtual place, but boy, you figure out in a real hurry how addicted you are to says he can't get on. How addicted you are to okay, this is weird. I wonder, are we not able to bring somebody in the studio if we're not on Facebook? Now, this is an interesting position that I've not seen before. Yes, I'm in Facebook jail, but you know what? I feel like I haven't been in Facebook jail in a really, really long time. It's weird. Okay, let me try to figure this one out. It's possible, yes, maybe that I can't add somebody just because I'm in Facebook jail. That kind of sucks. Let's try it. Yes, I only got 24 hours, which isn't too bad. Good morning to Sandra. There we go. Blake and Aaron, what's going on? Was the other link not working? Good morning, guys. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how's it going?
I'm good. I'm in Facebook jail. That's why we're not in.
You're in Facebook jail?
Yes.
What'd you share?
Are we not live?
We are, but you were
Okay.
just on YouTube today because I'm in Facebook jail.
So,
Oh.
what did you? Are you gonna? I think you should tell us.
Tell us on the air, yeah.
Yes. Oh God, I haven't been in jail in a little while.
Okay.
Andy.
Good morning to Raymond. Good morning, Sandra Miller. Evelyn is here. So it's kind of weird because nobody knows kind of where to find us this morning. So they're like, all the Facebook people are like, where are they?
Yeah.
We have shared it on our Facebook page. So hopefully people will see where we're at and what's going on.
Okay.
And they'll just click on it. Danielle, good morning. Good morning, Barbara. Hey, Louie. I've never been there. You've never been in Facebook jail, Louie? Oh my goodness. Consider yourself lucky.
All right, Sandra, we're going to come to you in 20 seconds.
Okay.
All right.
Big news. I have some important news for you. Interesting news.
It's Blake and Aaron's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
It was a long weekend. I'm assuming a lot went down. Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you guys? I'm in jail.
You're in jail?
What?
Yeah. Facebook jail, of course.
Oh, okay.
Oh, not real jail.
So how do you
Not
get
the real
into
jail.
now?
You know what? It's so funny. The other day, somebody messaged me and they're like, oh, I heard you were in jail today. And I'm like, what? That's so crazy sometimes. But yes, just Facebook jail. And it's only 24 hours. It's not too bad.
What do you do to get into Facebook jail, and what does that mean exactly?
Okay, so I shared a video that Facebook says was too much. And I don't know if you guys saw it. A couple at one point were kind of gyrating and dancing. Yeah, you saw it, right?
Share that.
As you do at Rum Point.
Yes. And so then she got in a certain position and he kind of simulated something. And Facebook said, no, that's too much.
Okay. And
so
was
they
there
put me in jail for
was there a
24
story
hours.
there, or were you just trying to share, some goodness, some fun with the public?
I just shared the post, which was basically Yeah, that was enough to get me in jail, though.
Wait, so somebody had already put it on Facebook and you just shared it?
I know other people have it up as well, but Facebook is very bizarre. Like I have done that. Like I've shared news stories from other people and then I get blocked. Like big newspaper, all over Miami, the States, and you share something and you think, okay, well, obviously if Fox, in Atlanta has it, it must be cool. And then little old me gets blocked. I'm like,
because you're on their radar.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're probably on the radar.
So
if you get in jail once, you're always gonna be,
Yes.
Yeah, but what did happen over the weekend?
Well, there's quite a bit that went on over the weekend. There was obviously the Queen's birthday parade.
Yeah.
And the most exciting part of that is whether or not they were going to be able to remove the protester from the location. So we'll be talking about that this morning. We are also going to be talking about what a few people thought was a quarantine breach. A couple hanging out on a boat that was kind of like adjacent to the property that they have rented for quarantine. So we're going to talk a little bit about that to kind of just clarify a few things, because there's a lot of confusion about what you can and can't do in quarantine, like how far the borders really do
it's
go.
the way, isn't it?
No, not always.
Apparently not.
If it's your own house and you can be in your pool.
Your yard, you can be in the pool, you can be in the tool shed outside.
So why did that? So it takes me back to that producer guy who got in trouble for being in the pool.
Right. So apparently what got him in trouble is the fact that he removed the wristband.
That's what it was. That's right.
Yeah. Had he left the wristband on and just hung out in the pool, he would have been fine. It's just so crazy. Yes. It is a little bit crazy. And people are still confused about what the rules are.
Are they waterproof? I mean, I know I've seen them.
They're not waterproof as in like swimming, but you can.
How do you shower?
You can do like 30 seconds or something of water. So a quick shower.
I see. There's supposed to be we heard from the governor, there's supposed to be a press conference in the works maybe this week. Have you heard anything more about that?
Yes, we keep hearing about this press conference, and we don't have an exact date yet, but I think by later on today, we may have a date. So a lot of people are still anxious about what the government is doing in relation to the reopening. Obviously, the vaccine clinic is going to be open, I think, on the 17th, which is Thursday, because we're getting more vaccines in. So we're edging ever closer to that 80% that they would like us to be vaccinated population-wise. But here's the kicker. 80% of what?
Right.
Well, what's our true population size? Nobody really can answer that.
But you can't put kids in there either, the ones that can't get vaccinated. So you can't count them as part of the population if they can't get vaccinated.
I mean, I think it's including the adult population, but honestly, no one is telling the people of the Cayman Islands that we don't actually know what the population size is of this country. We have an estimate, but we don't know. So you're saying 80% of like what number? So you don't actually know if you're at 72% right now, which is what they're claiming. That's of the estimate. And of course, we do have a census that is underway, but that census is going to take a minute to be completed and to get results. That's not going to happen.
That gives them time, does it not?
Yeah. I don't know that they're going to necessarily try to wait on the census, but people are very nervous about the whole concept of reopening, especially the politicians, because undoubtedly there will be things that go wrong, and undoubtedly there will be infections. And of course, even the people who are saying reopen, reopen, reopen are going to be the first to blame the politicians when that happens. You know how it is.
I don't know. I feel like they had a chance when we were all on lockdown, that 72 hours, to just like figure out how many people live
The only thing I worry about, and it's the same worry that I have if my wife and I traveled with Miles, is that my 2.5-year-old is not protected, not vaccinated. Yeah. So there are, all the kids that are under 12 years of age that are not protected. So how does that work?
Well, I mean, and this is a scary thing, because although children have not been sort of the target of this virus in terms of its genome or whatever, right? Children are still very much at risk. And at the end of the day, children have died from this virus just like everybody else. So there is that concern. And I think a lot of people are just sort of not thinking about that.
I want to tell you something that
but if you have kids, that's definitely the scariest part.
I want to tell you something. I have a friend that works in ER in the States, and this is by no means part of any sort of scientific research that has come out, but they were saying that the talk among the doctors and the nurses in this hospital about COVID and children is that they found that children that have had an MMR shot were the most resistant to COVID. And the kids that hadn't had it, they found had more serious effects, which is pretty wild. I don't know why that would be.
Like, I mean, that's a hypothesis, and that could be studied more.
Totally.
Yeah.
But hey, my son has had an MMR shot. Your kids?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all the vaccines that they, are meant to have.
So I don't know why that is or what the relationship is with that.
It sort of gives you some sort of preemptive protection, which is, I guess, a good thing, because I think most children here, it's almost like it's a requirement just to get into school. So most parents
measles, rubella, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
a lot to get to. And you're in jail today on Facebook. So where can people see your show this morning?
YouTube. We've already got we were up to 70 something people. Now it's 62. It's kind of fluctuating a little bit. So people are trying to figure out where we're at. But yes, you can definitely view us on YouTube.
Facebook
for the day. And then tomorrow morning we should be good to go, because there's only a 24-hour jail stint. So there you go.
All right. Well, maybe you've learned your lesson now this time.
Yes.
Yes. I posted it without even thinking about it, because here's the thing. I actually have a secondary account that anything that I think might kind of cross the line, which I should have known Facebook that would, I use that account instead, because if that one gets blocked, it's like, whatever. That's no big deal. That's not the primary account. So I wasn't really thinking when I posted it. So got to always think.
Before we let you go, we posted something on our Facebook page. And we're curious what your answer would be to this question.
Sure.
And if you want to share it on yours, just to get more answers, it'd be kind of funny. What is the nicest way to tell a dinner guest it's time to leave? What do you say, Sandy, when you have people over and you're like, time to go? How do you let them know it's time to go?
Oh, I just start yawning. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Or I literally will just sit on the sofa and fall asleep, because I really am probably tired, right? So
that's hilarious.
If they don't get it from that, they'll just never get it. But yeah, I think just letting people know you're tired and you've had a long day.
If you've got
most people would get it and be like, okay, time for me to go.
That's funny. Facebook.com/1061 Kiss FM. Sandy, we'll see you tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Have a good show.
Have a good day.
Enjoy jail.
All righty. Bye. Okay, folks, jail or no jail, we are still doing pretty good. Up to 91. Now it's jumped down to 88. So I think people are still trying to figure out where we're at this morning. No worries. Not the usual couple hundred that we would expect to have. But yeah, we're still good. We're all good. I think what I'll do is I'll pull this feed, and then we'll load it up to Facebook a bit later on. You know what the weird thing is? I really thought about it. I probably could have added a secondary camera to get my Facebook feed going. So, because that second account that I just mentioned, which is like my backup account, by the way, for Facebook friends, make sure you always have both accounts for me. So I have two accounts, one under Sandy Hill and one under Sandra Hill. So yes, that second account, I could have used that to stream like from a mobile device, but for some reason it doesn't want to do the whole integrated thing that we do via our computer. So technology, what can you do? Speaking of technology, why are all the AC units off? There we go. Everything around here is like controlled by like smart stuff. And if it's like, heaven forbid, the internet goes down because you can't do anything. So Sharon, good morning. Jasara is here. Brandon, he's always here on YouTube. Brandon's like, yeah, I'm ready. The regular YouTubers are like, we're always here. Hi, Louie. I did share it on the Facebook page. I still think people are probably confused by it. You know how it is, Louie. It takes a minute for people to understand what's going on. They're like, where is the stream today? So I did put a post that said live now and the YouTube link. So hopefully people will jump in. The numbers are slowly rising. We're now at 103. So yeah, they'll get it. You'll be rehabilitated after you're out. So yes, Louie has never been in Facebook jail. Jasara, have you ever been in Facebook jail? She said they're just blocking you for telling the truth. Well, Facebook in particular, when it comes to like certain things, mind you, there are things that you think people get blocked for on Facebook that they don't. So their artificial intelligence is what determines whether or not you get blocked, right? And it's a bit strange because some things that I've been blocked for, I'm like, really? Like I said, like sharing stuff from other big news publications. And then, other things that they don't block people for, I'm sitting here scratching my head. Now, YouTube, I think is probably a little bit stricter than Facebook, to be honest, because they'll do all sorts of stuff like music and everything. Whereas Facebook, if they won't necessarily block you for music, but they will say that, okay, someone has made a claim. And it's so bizarre because all of a sudden, a year later, they'll say, oh, someone made a claim on a part of your video that aired eons ago. And I always object to those because normally there is a fair use policy that we fall under. So I always object to Facebook jail. Y'all know me, I'm going to fight it tooth and nail, right? So this one I objected to and they said no. So a couple of days ago, there was something else. They weren't going to put me in Facebook jail for it, but they said it was a violation. And I certainly didn't think it was a violation. I can't remember what it was now. But anyway, I objected and they said, oh, yes, you're right. Upon review, it doesn't go against our policy. So the lesson is always object because Facebook gets it wrong a lot of times because the first step in determining a violation is not a human being doing it. It's some artificial intelligence, which as smart as you want to be, computers still get it wrong. So when I appeal, I think most of the appeals then go to like a real live person for review. Although during COVID, they've claimed that they have fewer live people available to review content. And yeah. So C.E. Banks, good morning to you. I went for my morning walk on Northwest Point Road, Turtle Farm Road, Watercourse Road. I called the West Bay Police Station, made a report of speeders. Oh, wow. This time of morning? That's crazy. So Louis says, can't share the show now because it's like, you should be able to share it. So let me just double check. Hold on. So Louis says, can't share the show now. Yeah. I mean, you should be able to share it. I don't know why not. Hold on one second. Does the link change? Social media is so weird. Sometimes the links actually change once it goes live, but it looks like it's the same link to me. So I think, hold on, let me just do this. The link does look a little bit different. Yeah, so, the thing to do with Facebook is, or the YouTube link is to actually share the, click on the share button. Because if you copy the URL up at the top, I think it gives you a slightly different URL. It's just bizarre. It's close, but not quite the same. So let me just reshare. I'm going to reshare it, Louis, in the WhatsApp group, which I know that you are a part of. So maybe grab that one that I've just sent out and share that. All right. So Jasaris has never been in YouTube jail. Good morning, Rita. C.E. Bank says, I got called. Then I called the GT police station, just transferred back to West Bay police station. No police cars never came. And I said to the officer, you all got all these fancy vehicles. I'm so tired of bad drivers. Well, it sounds like they need to do an operation down there because, they claim they have been doing, they claim that they've been doing some sort of on the road violation. There's more police presence out there. So yeah, it sounds like to me that they just need to get it together and legit go ahead and start keeping an eye on people. So speaking of police officers, someone on Friday or Saturday, no, it was Saturday, called me. This was a resident of West Bay as well. And she contacted the police station about a man who was indecently, speaking of ridiculousness, indecently exposing himself. And the police officer came and actually said to her that it wasn't an offense. She was like, what? So she called me and I'm like, what? Indecent exposure is actually quite a serious offense that will land you in jail. What does this police officer mean? So she went back and got the police officer's information, badge number and name, and we reported it to the police commissioner, because if y'all don't know your job as police officers and you don't know some of the most basic offenses, how do you hope to stop it? Like, you needed to arrest him, warn him, tell him he can't go around showing his little willy in public, because that is considered indecent exposure. And that is a criminal offense. And she was most concerned because of children in the neighborhood. So the commissioner did give us assurances that he would speak to the commander at the West Bay station, and there would be some retraining of that officer in terms of what offenses look like. It's just so crazy. So Jamelia, the good news is I'm only in Facebook jail for the equivalent of 24 hours. So by later on today, we should be out of Facebook jail. Yeah. I think we're helping the Compass with their numbers today, because they actually legit have 13 people watching, which is a lot for them. So, so yes, we have 24 hours, which I think the block took effect. Hold on. Let me see if it'll tell me when I can get back in. Oh no. Okay, hold on. Facebook is trying to confuse me. So I'm trying to log into the other account. It's like, no, that's not the account. Oh, oops, I clicked on the wrong one. Let me not get locked out of my Facebook account, and that'd be crazy. So the best way to test it is to actually try posting something, and they'll tell you. So it says that I can't post for another 13 hours. So by tonight, I guess 12 hours would be 7:48 p.m. So 8:48 or thereabouts. And my last violation was back in November of 2020. So they actually are compiling the two together to say why I've been blocked. So they're considering it like a 2 offense thing. I guess that they keep track of offenses. I don't know what period of time before these things fall away, but 24 hours isn't that bad. When you get like a 30-day violation, then you're like, oh my God. Because what happens is a lot of the tools that we use to stream with live are, you know what? I bet you anything. Let me just test a theory. A lot of the tools that we use to stream with are actually linked to your Facebook account. Now, what if we're going to do this on the fly? Let's just test the power of Facebook. Because, you know, I recognize how incredibly powerful Facebook is. I've got my little, my phone thing here. What if we go live on Facebook from my phone right now? The phone that has the backup account. Let me see. And I bet you we'll have 200 people live on Facebook. What do you guys want to bet? Okay, hold on a second. Just trying to remember how to do the stand. Okay. Shall we do it this way or turn it the other way? Hold on. So I am willing to bet that if we go on Facebook right now, put your money where your mouth is. Let me just, can I put this here and it not be in your way? I think so. So this is my phone. This is the iPhone. I don't have a lot of space with this little minimalized keyboard setup that my husband gave me, but let's see if we do it that way. Or should we turn it this way? Yeah, I think. The only problem with this is that light in the background. On the iPhone, really. Hold on. So I am willing to bet. I need to put this up a little bit higher. Do it like this. There we go. Doesn't look too shabby. I'm just trying to put it down so that that light, which gives me like a weird halo over my head, isn't too Facebook jail. I could flip it the other way, but all right. How many people do you guys think once I log in, I'll be able to almost get within, say, the first 5 minutes on Facebook? Facebook has a different kind of power. Good morning, Louisa. Thank you so much. So let's just go live on Facebook and watch what happens. Because like the strange thing is, from my phone, I can legit go live, but the same account, I can't link it to my app to go live. It's a weird angle because it's like way too close, but right now, 15 people, boom, just like that. I'm telling you. The craziness of Facebook is that Facebook has a lot of reach. Michelle and Louis, so hi, Facebook folks. Elizabeth is here. Buenos dias. C. Banks. Louis says, why can't they get camera issuing tickets? Yeah, that would make too much sense. Irvelyn says that that's sexual harassment. Well, it probably doesn't quite fit the definition of sexual harassment, but it definitely fits the definition of indecent exposure. And I think that the police should have done a bit more about it. So everybody on Facebook, good morning. I'm Facebooking from my phone because I'm in Facebook jail. Johanna's like, your head looks double XL this morning. Good morning, Karen. Yes, because I'm legit in Facebook jail. And let me see if I have something to prop up my, I'm like super close to the phone because of the stand that I'm using. So this stand is a little bit, let me see if I can do it that way. Does that help any? No, you just see more of me. Yes. So yeah, the angle isn't the best on Facebook, but already we're up to 132 people. So unfortunately, you're going to get that light behind me. Let's see if we turn the light off. It might look better on Facebook. All right, Alexa, turn office light off. Ta-da. That is actually a little bit better on Facebook, not so much on the other computer, but there you have it. So Marshall wants to know, why am I in Facebook jail? So we were just talking about it, Marshall. So I shared this. Yes, CS75, give us a second. Can you actually talk about new? All right, so yes, I got in Facebook jail because I posted a video, which I cannot share on here, of a couple dancing at one point on a boat. And then he kind of flips her and simulates something that Facebook says is a sexual act. So there you go. Bishop Hero Blair, yes, yesterday was a public holiday. So we did not live stream yesterday. It was actually the Queen's birthday. So let's talk about a few things that happened over the weekend. So are you guys aware of this FBoy reality TV show that was filmed here in the Cayman Islands? If you missed it, there was a social media post about it. I think it was on Instagram. So hi, Keisha. We have 150 people on Facebook. Darianne, Ellen. Yes, Irvelyn, it does look really weird. Let me try to push it back a little bit because of just the angle of the phone. The phone doesn't give you that kind of like, anyway, it's just a totally different look on the phone. Trust me. So let's pull this up on the screen for the YouTubers to at least view. So the name of this show is called FBoy Island, and it's a HBO Max production. So it's like a reality show where people actually are having sex, is what I'm told. I don't know. I'm just telling you guys, you know, what it is. So it's now being called a Cayman-based FBoy reality show. And apparently it's going to be airing on HBO Max. This lady by the name of Nikki Glazier is hosting it. No clue who she is. But it's 10 episodes of a dating series is what they're calling it. And they even put that in quotes because it's basically everybody's having sex with each other and they're calling it a dating series. So it's created by the same person who created the Bachelor franchise, but it's not quite like that. And Love is Blind. The thing about this is it sends 3 women to a tropical island where they are joined by 24 men, a dozen self-proclaimed nice guys who are looking for love, and 12 proclaimed F-boys who are looking to, in their words, compete for cold, hard cash. So I think that the idea is that they need to try to have sex. That's what the F stands for, with as many people as possible. So it's a nice way of saying, engaging in sexual activity. So I'm a bit surprised that Cayman actually, this made me think, did we ask what they were filming here before we approved it? Because given her so-called Christian beliefs, this seems a bit over the top, even the title, in terms of something that we would have approved. So this story from tvline.com goes on to say, the women will navigate the dating pool together with the hope of finding a lasting love connection. By the finale, all will be revealed: who's a nice guy, who's an F-boy, and who did the women ultimately choose. So according to them, F-Boy Island is a social experiment that asks the age-old question, can F-boys truly reform, and do nice guys always finish last? So I think based on what I've heard is that there was a lot of sexing all over the Cayman Islands. So in this snippet here, it says filmed earlier this year in the Cayman Islands, F-Boy Island is set to premiere this summer. So there you go. Cayman is known for our F-Boy status, which is, like I said, kind of a little bit crazy for me to understand how they got approval for this film. I mean, listen, we can take a couple different approaches. Throw the moral compass out and don't care about anything that we allow here. So yes, let the porn boys in, let everybody in. It doesn't matter what they're filming, because at the end of the day, see, Facebook, 202 people, 6 minutes in. What did I tell you? It's just crazy. But Facebook definitely has a much wider reach. So work with me with the Facebook look this morning. It's not going to be as great as it usually is. So yeah, so what do you guys think? Johan says it's a disgrace, and I cannot believe that CIG allowed, sponsored, or endorsed and promoted that sort of program. How does this line up with Brand Cayman and how it wants the world to view the country? Good morning, Catherine. Good morning, Joy. Good morning, Philip. So yeah, this is kind of a good point, to be quite honest, Johan. I was thinking about the same thing. Like, we need to decide, are we just here for the money, which means it's a free-for-all, or are we going to be a country that kind of sticks by certain minimum standards? And like Johan said, if we are branding ourselves in a particular way, family friendly, for example, this is probably not the kind of production that we would want here. On the other hand, if we don't care how people see us and there is no brand that we're trying to protect, or there's no brand identity, then, you open it up to any and everything to come to your shores, and it's another Sodom and Gomorrah. And you're just like, okay, whatever. Everybody's doing it anyway. The government was probably like, listen, we're all F-boys, and y'all are pretending to be really good people when you're F-boys and girls too. And it's like, they're just telling you the cold hard truth, which is this facade of us being a Christian society and, a so-called wholesome country is just that. It's a facade. So why do we continue to maybe turn away business because of it? That could be what they were thinking. Legit. I don't know. So good morning, Catherine. I'm in Facebook jail, by the way. That's why I have two different streams, like simultaneous streams going. Normally we simulcast on both Facebook and YouTube at the same time, but we're using the exact same app to be able to do it. What we've had to do today, because I'm in Facebook jail, I'm using my backup account to stream to the page, because when you're in Facebook jail, even if you're not posting on your personal account, any pages that you have access to, it blocks you from all of that as well. Facebook is serious. They're not playing around. And so unfortunately, I can't do my my usual stream in the same way on Facebook. That's okay. I still see 225 of you on Facebook. So, hey, you know, it is what it is. I just at the last minute, I decided to still do Facebook, but from the phone, which I could have thought about last night. The brain is not always firing in all cylinders. So yeah, so what do you guys think about this whole FBoy thing? Are we gonna just like, you know, not make a big deal of it? Are we going to say that maybe this doesn't quite fit our brand? Miranda on YouTube says the Cayman government is disgusting and money crazy. Brandon says, sounds like this new TV show called Are You the One? And you win $1 million if you find their match. Well, there's a lot of dating shows out there for sure. Like people like the whole dating thing. The Bachelor has been one of the biggest ones, The Bachelorette. I've never been much into the dating shows, I'll be honest. But, you know, I am a little bit of reality show junkie. So I like a lot of this stuff on the Housewives series, you know, on Bravo. Below Deck and Housewives of every single city in the world. We need a Housewives of Cayman. That would probably be kind of lit. But yes, you know, there are concerns that some of the reality shows go a little bit overboard and they don't always present the best impression because people like a train wreck. We know. And so people like the salacious. We know. That's why a lot of y'all are here every day to try to see what gossip we got for you. So I guess there is a question though of where is the line, right? So FBoy, that isn't The Bachelor. So on The Bachelor, I don't get the sense, or The Bachelorette, I don't get the sense that they are being told to engage in sexual relationships. And it's not just about that. This has a very slightly different undertone in terms of the entire purpose of the show. So the entire purpose of the show is for some of the contestants to just have sex with as many of the girls or women as they possibly can. So Linda says, I wonder what the crowd control plan is when all the shows descend upon Cayman. Well, that one's already filmed, I guess, and done. That's in the can already. Miranda says this government is no better than the previous government, maybe worse. FBoy Cayman. So to be clear, Miranda, this wouldn't have been done under this government. This would have been done under the old government, which, because it wrapped up filming. I don't know exactly what the film date was, but it definitely would have been filmed already and done. So I don't get the sense that this is anything, you know, now that they're promoting it, because it's all over Hollywood Reporter, saying that FBoy Island, HBO's dating reality series, is set to premiere. And HBO, because of, you know, them being HBO, they, I think, have a little bit of a different reputation as well. So they'll get into showing you nudity and whatever on their platform. So I don't think that this was done under this government. So let's be fair to them. And for those of you who are curious about what an FBoy is, according to Amazon's Shahari Brown, which I have no clue what that is, an FBoy is someone who cheats, they're deceiving, and they damage women, leaving them broken and in disarray. And but do they deserve to be murdered? I guess this was some special that they did. So I don't even know what an FBoy was, but I mean, generally speaking. But who knew that there was like a technical definition here? But yes, and there's a whole, I'd never actually heard of the word FBoy before. Normally we just call them like, I don't know, bad boys or whatever, but there's a term for it. So it's called FBoy, and there's a whole hashtag FBoy. Pack your bags for HBO Max's wild new reality show, FBoy Island. So this is now, that was eonline.com 5 days ago. So it's getting a lot of promotion at this particular time, but I think it was actually like already done in terms of who gave them approval. They came in, they recorded the whole 9 yards. So there's a whole thing here that's on Pinterest, FBoy pins, apparently, talking about different things with, I guess there's a whole thing with FBoys. It's just crazy. It's a whole lifestyle of boys like doing all sorts of stuff. Who knew that was something to aspire to in life? But apparently it is. All right. So there you have it, Miranda. So don't blame this government per se. The government, meaning the civil servants, actually approved this. So maybe you can talk to them. Beach Out says the show was approved in late 2020 and filmed in a villa, so the likelihood of Cayman getting mentioned will be low. The working title was always this title, from what I was told. Well, Cayman is being mentioned in all of the promotional stuff. So everybody's like, oh, it was filmed in the Cayman Islands. So here's another one from MediaPlayNews.com. It says FBoy Island from STX Alternative, filmed earlier this year in the Cayman Islands, is slated to debut this summer. So everyone is mentioning for sure that it was filmed in the Cayman Islands. So I'm just having a quick look online, and most of them are mentioning Cayman in terms of the film location. So yeah. So Cayman is put on the map. Some people might be thinking, well, is there any such thing as bad press? All press is good press. So maybe that's the approach, because now everybody's going to know her name. Just like the Skylar Max situation, a lot of people are like, who cares? Like, now you know not to mess with the Cayman Islands, and you know who we are. So Morna says, wow, I'd rather be on Facebook than YouTube, so I'm all over this side. I hear you, girl. Some people just prefer Facebook, and look, we got like 230 people on Facebook. I get it. I totally get it. The great thing about Facebook too is a lot of people are just like online and they'll get the pop-up notifications. I don't know that people just kind of scroll YouTube normally. Probably not, but we do have 120 people on YouTube. What's the biggest numbers that we've had on YouTube? We've had some pretty big numbers on YouTube for like certain shows where we'll get like a couple hundred for sure. So Julie says, who is surprised? Definitely not me. Aliano says, typical how this country's reaction is always so hypocritical. Go check your household first and make sure all nook and crannies are clean. So it seems like Iliano is of the position that who cares? Because most people are on this island, they're living in sin in any event. And they're just pretending that they're not. So I'm having to pull the Facebook feeds from Facebook. So hold on one second. Irvlin says, I don't like you, YouTube. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Irvlin, you were so funny. Let me just see if I can read any more of the Facebook comments. Hold on. I think I'm going to have to open it up in full screen. Yeah, here we go. So, comments. Poor brand image for Cayman, says Rosie. Rosemarie is watching. Thank you, Miss Rosemarie. Sue says, I couldn't find the part to say good morning on YouTube. Yes, I think what it is if you don't have a YouTube account, then you can't necessarily comment. So Debbie is here. Good morning. Says travel restrictions only apply to us, not the elite. Yeah, well, they're supposed to quarantine, so only God knows. Good morning to Loretta. What is FBoy? Sorry, I have not heard. So FBoy literally means, think of the word for having sex that you probably would not normally use, like effing, right? So that's what FBoy is. That's what it stands for. Hi, Charles. Debbie's a Housewives fan. So the show is called FBoy Island. First Lady Jan says that sometimes it doesn't feel like a Caribbean island. Why is that? Because of the whole FBoy thing? So Maddie said that she's confused about the travel restrictions. If people can come in to travel, are our borders really closed? Well, the whole idea, Maddie, is that they can come in to film, my apologies, but they have to quarantine. And that's why the last producer who wasn't quite following the rules got put in trouble. So let's talk about quarantine, by the way. Since we're here, Al says the power of money trumps Christianity. So he's like, yeah, y'all not worried about it. Johan says, when you understand who approved it for CIG and the MIATA ministry, it makes perfect sense. # no bueno. So who approved it? Somebody in the ministry. Like, who's that person? First Lady Jan says we're losing our culture. So quarantine. So over the weekend, there was a few pictures in circulation of a young lady and her boyfriend, apparently, who were on a boat, and they posted these photos. And then it went viral because a lot of people said that they were at Rum Point. It turns out they were not at Rum Point. And then once we posted the picture asking, where were they? Well, we said, it was alleged that they were at Rum Point. And then once it was determined that they were not at Rum Point, the question then became, okay, if they're not in Rum Point, where are they? So they said that they were on a boat. And I'm going to show you guys the boat picture on YouTube. I can't pull it up on Facebook, but so this couple posts these two photos of them hugging up. And then after it starts to go viral, then they send another photo out of a boat. And they're like, no, this is where we were staying. A couple of things here. Number one, could you really post a photo on social media on a boat with your wristbands on and not think that it would cause a stir? I mean, you young people are so bright when you want to be. And then at times you're kind of not all that bright. So you're trying to give this impression. I want you guys to look at the photos carefully here. Let me just find it on Facebook again. Because then the family got all upset. Oh, they haven't reached quarantine. Then it became a really big deal. They're trying to call lawyers. They're doing the most. It's like, have you ever thought about talking to your young people to say that, I know you're trying to be a model and whatever it is you're doing, but actually posting that photo, everybody, in my sense, with a little grain of common sense, could see how posting that photo would have caused questions at the very minimum. And then everybody was like, what's the quarantine rule? Are you allowed to go out on a boat that's adjacent to the property because it's not part of the main house? Now, there were some people who were skeptical about the boat. So there's some people who are like, we don't know if that boat is actually, hold on one second, YouTubers, I can bring it up and show you guys. We don't know if that boat is actually on the same property or not. Listen, I'm not going to get into the semantics of that. Let's just say that these young people are being honest and they're telling the truth for the sake of argument, right? Who in their right minds, YouTube, you can see it. So this is a photo of the young lady and the young man. Facebook, let me see if I can I switch it around so you can kind of see? Yeah. So there's what YouTubers are saying. So this is the couple on a boat, right? There we go. At least you can see it a little bit. Doing the most, taking a photo. They claimed that they were using a selfie stick. And then there they are again. Okay. And then they claimed that this is where they were. They were on this boat, pretending, I guess, to be somewhere else. I don't know. Is quarantine that horrific where you have to pretend that you're in another zone? So this is them. And again, you got your wristbands on, your little quarantine wristbands. And you honestly thought that you could have posted this picture and not a single eyebrow would have been raised? Man, I mean, okay, if you say so. But so the parents of this young lady got really, really upset, saying that, oh, this is libelous and slanderous and all sorts of stuff. I think it's reasonable for people to have asked questions when they saw this. And there were some people who reached out to us. Let me just go back to my Instagram, who said that this couple was believed to have been at Runpoint. Okay. So again, we're going to accept their position that they were not at Runpoint. But you post that picture and you expect people to be like, oh, that's such a cool photo. And nobody goes, where are you? What are you doing? You have your wristbands on. There's something called a little bit of logic and common sense. But that's it. Like, seriously? Okay. Anyway, to be clear, their family has said there was no quarantine breach. They're not in breach. They have not done anything to, remotely be in breach. I'm glad to hear that. And the only word of advice I would say is if you put up a photo like that, don't be surprised when people ask questions. Now, we had people who had spent multiple, like one person has been in quarantine like 4 times because of medical issues and so on. She has to travel quite a bit, her and her husband. And she said that she believes that that is going a bit far. Now, I suppose the only question to ask is if, and we've asked this question of travel time, but knowing them, they probably won't even respond. But if a person, because this is how it works when you go into quarantine, right? So you go into quarantine, they give you the wristband and the watch, the wristband and the phone that accompanies it at the airport. When you go there, so supposedly they've done a site visit. When you go to the location, you're the one who walks around the perimeter of the property and you actually set the perimeter yourself. So if they had initially set the perimeter as including the boat, which is kind of interesting, but had they done that, then theoretically, that boat would be included. If they didn't do that, then presumably if the wristbands are working, they should have alerted the authorities that they were outside of the border. I don't know, folks, how far their border reaches, if it included that boat. It does seem a little bit strange to me that they would have walked that far out of the property. So here's the picture again of where they're, good morning, Eddie. Andrea says, that's true. Posting those pics weren't smart because pictures say 1,000 words and we really couldn't tell where they were. But I guess once they have their own space, they are free to be outside without breaking any rules. So they would still have to put it within the quarantine perimeters. So here it is. Supposedly they're living at this, what looks like a large home that includes this boat that is actually out of the water even, which is like so weird. Why would you be taking a picture on that boat? But whatever. So there's no way to confirm, folks, if they were actually on that boat and if that's when this picture was taken. We only know that it was taken, obviously, with them being in quarantine. So, there they are. Okay. Apparently, she's a Cayman young lady and her boyfriend is from somewhere else. I don't know where. So, yep, parents all upset, lawyering up. They actually called. There's some people who were civil servants who made comments on the post. They went as far as calling government officials yesterday to complain about those individuals. Now, y'all need to be talking to your children. None of this would be a discussion if your children were, my apologies for the angle on Facebook. If your children were just a little bit more sensible, but anyway, parents never want to talk to their children. They're going to blame everybody else in the world. and they want to sue CMR now. They're going to call their lawyers. This is libel. This is slander. Okay. But of course, I understand the young lady is a very nice young lady. The family, they're nice people. It's just that y'all really get up in your feelings a lot. So let's look at this situation now at the Holiday Inn. So this was, in case you guys missed it last night, this was an editorial that went up late last night on the Facebook page, on the CMR page, about a couple that has spent time in quarantine at the Holiday Inn most recently. And they are saying that the conditions there are deplorable. And they actually took photos of the vent. And boy, I tell you, I must admit that if you have any kind of allergens or anything of the sort, when you see the ventilation here, let me just see on Facebook, the perimeter is set by government and you get what they give you. Some get 100-foot perimeter and some get 20. I guess it depends on who you're for. Well, Debbie, that isn't what's been happening. So this is where I'm like a little bit confused, because in fact, what has been happening is that people are just given the wristband and they're told to walk the perimeter of their home or wherever they want to be included, including the yard. And theoretically, being in the yard isn't an issue. I'm so confused by this whole thing. And I'm really hoping that Travel Time can give us some clarity on a very muddled area, because it's clear as mud, which means it ain't clear at all. How this works exactly, because I've known of people who were in their yard when the quarantine team drove by and they got hauled in for a potential breach. So it's like, which is it? It's either, but it certainly can't be both. And if the individuals are able to set their own perimeter, does anybody check afterwards that those perimeter, like the actual perimeter, makes sense and it doesn't cross the border into anything else? Like the whole thing is just, we have a lot of questions. Let's just put it that way. So this person has stayed in the Holiday Inn. This is their second time in quarantine. The last time they stayed at is it the Wind? Hold on. I don't want to tell you the wrong hotel name. So give me 1 second. I'm going to tell you where they stayed. But they were saying that the last property that they were at, they had no issues. It was fine. Everything was fine. But it seems like they have some concerns and some issues about the Holiday Inn. So they have alleged, and based on the photos that they've sent us, that the conditions at the Holiday Inn are less than ideal. And they don't compare. They say they say at the Wyndham, where everything was fine, and they've got complaints about the Holiday Inn. So the biggest complaint at the Holiday Inn is the photos which were provided of the ventilation system is disgusting. And I must admit, when I look at the photos, the vents have not been cleaned in probably a while. There looks like there could be a mold issue in this particular room. So one of the pictures, let me show you guys on Facebook. So this YouTube, sorry. So this first one is the actual. This first one is the actual vent. Like that's the filter. That filter is black. How long did it take to get in that condition, especially since we've been closed for like well over a year now? Here is what looks like mold in certain areas. This is all connected to the AC unit. So mold can definitely make you sick. Look at this. This is the vent that hasn't been cleaned. The dirt is so like caked on there. And you can see that it has not been cleaned in a while. So this to me isn't just a matter of someone being nitpicky and semantics of, okay, you don't have the cleanest house in the world. What I thought of when I heard this story, when I read this editorial, and you can go on the page and read it, is that here we are in COVID, where everybody's supposed to be like, clean your house, wash your hands. We were encouraging children, wear your mask, try not to touch your face, all these things to encourage a hyper state of cleanliness, because we know that all of these things contribute to the transmission of the droplets. But we also know that the droplets are in the air. So my question is, if the Holiday Inn is not maintaining their facility and haven't cleaned the vents in what could be years, how safe those of you who are in quarantine should feel knowing that there are other people who go in there and who have been in those exact same rooms and been COVID positive. Because you don't know. Everybody who's coming in is getting tested. And we know that every week there are people who are testing positive who are in quarantine. Some of them have got to be quarantining at the government facilities. They're not all at home. So if they're quarantining at the government facilities and they've had COVID in this room, how well are these rooms being cleaned? Because here's the thing, right? After a person is tested positive, and then they have to stay in quarantine until they are cleared, no one is going to tell the hotel staff that, okay, in room 1203, we just had a COVID positive person. So make sure you clean that room extra carefully. That's not going to happen. So then you have people, cleaning staff, who are just doing a mediocre cleaning job. And the COVID germs could be lingering in the AC vent or lingering in the air. Like, that's what I thought of when I saw this. That's disgusting. I mean, it would be bad enough in normal times to see a vent like that, because you're like, ew, all kind of germs and mold. Mold can make you very, very sick. So this person shared that her family was in quarantine. Her daughter was in one room. They shared photos from her daughter's room as well. I don't know how old the daughter is, but she said that after this last day in quarantine, she got really, really sick, where she actually thought that at the end of her quarantine, she had COVID because it was a respiratory style illness and she was so sick. Well, it turns out she tested negative for COVID, but she's now wondering, what was it? And did the poor quality AC vents and all that mold and whatever else is in that contribute to her illness? She says in the editorial, the hotel has had no tourists before. It should be easy for their staff or travel Cayman to check daily or every other day. So then she goes on to talk about the fact that when they were in isolation, when they're in quarantine, they actually didn't have anyone checking in on them until the day before someone called to say, okay, tomorrow you're due for your COVID test. So with no one checking in on them, some other questions were, like, okay, like if I was here by myself and I'm sick and I'm not feeling well and there's no one checking in, the hotel isn't at capacity. Why is no one checking in? I've heard this complaint a lot from people, that unfortunately for people staying at the government quarantine facilities and even in their private homes, that no one checks on them. Now, maybe they're doing drive-bys just to make sure you're not in breach and in your yard. And that's how they found the one guy, just luck of the draw. That's how they found the one director guy out in the pool. So she shared the photos with her AC technician, and he was so shocked that all he could say was, "Dear Lord." She said that after the third day, they give you no water with your meal. And so there were some other minor concerns about how people are being treated. And I'm sure the price hasn't dropped for the quarantine stay. So she says, by contrast, at Wyndham, the food was fantastic, and a bottle of water is provided with every single meal. They also called and checked in with me randomly from the front desk, and the place was spotless. I could walk on the floor without my feet turning black. At Holiday Inn, we had to wipe down furniture every day because dust would accumulate on the dark colored furniture, and we had to wear shoes because the floor was filthy. Finally, the attitude of the hotel was horrible. Everything was like a favor, to be even requesting 2 additional pillows for the bed, and we only got 1. And so I had mine brought from home. I have to say, security and police were always friendly and responsive when we were on the balcony. Ultimately, the most disturbing condition was the AC system. It is unnecessary for people to be subjected to these conditions, especially when you're being held in a room for 11 to 15 days with nowhere to go. And I think that's fair commentary. Citibank says, not only is Holiday Inn Cayman hotel room, not only is Holiday Cayman hotel room vents or dirty and nasty. I'm not quite getting that first sentence, but Travel Cayman also needs to go and investigate Sunshine Suites Hotel, another nasty quarantine facility. The Westin owner is the same owner. Oh. Hot mess. Eric shares that common sense is not always so common. What is being delivered now by A.L. Thompson's? Why doesn't my husband ever tell me when something's going to be delivered? They just roll up and I'm like, okay, Alexa will soon start telling me. Someone's at the front door. So that you guys can make another meme. Okay, so someone else is asking, I wonder which government approved the movie name. I don't know that they approve movie names per se, but I would have thought that going back to the FBoy Island, that they would have at least, when you apply to do film here, like I would want to know if I were government, what's the movie about? What's the reality show about? Investigate it a little bit. And what's the title or the proposed title? And if it said FBoy, I'd be like, what's FBoy? Don't know. Linda says, wow, that's disgusting. Paying for AC maintenance is jobs. Why do we need so much new construction when there's clearly maintenance work in existing properties? It's a good question. I wonder if this guy is at the right location. I don't know. Okay, we'll see if he comes to the door. Linda, yes, that's a very good question. I do not know, to be honest, why that AC vent looks like that. And you know what? The worst part is it actually looks like it's been like that probably before COVID. So someone says that ministry is headed up by Eric Bush. And so we'll reach out, Mr. Eric. Approve entry to over 100 persons to film the show at a time when Cayman's borders were closed. So it says Eric Bush plus MIATA, I forget what that ministry stands for again, approve entry to over 100 persons to film the show at a time when Cayman's borders were closed. How is this a priority for Cayman? How is this the sort of positive way to promote the Cayman Islands? What concessions were granted? Did CIG contribute any funding or provide a rebate or drop fees for this nonsense? All very interesting questions. Someone else is asking on what's up. I wonder if any Caymanians were involved with the production of the films. Doubt it. I think they've used some extras, and I guess extras might get paid because remember last weekend I was telling you guys on Monday when we came back from the BRAC, the poor handling of the police officer at the airport, like making people go in the wrong direction of traffic because there's some filming going on there. And when we reached out to the police commissioner, because apparently he told people at the airport, oh, we're short staffed. When we reached out to the police commissioner, he was like, that doesn't make any sense. These officers just like to say that because this isn't a policing situation. Yes, he was in uniform, but the film crew are paying him overtime for or paying whatever officers overtime to work. So that's not part of their regular shift. And that's being arranged by, a commander. And if they need more people, they can find more officers who'd be more than willing to work overtime. So when he said that they were short-staffed, it made it sound like it was the police who just didn't have enough resources and lack of resources. And the commissioner's like, this isn't a lack of resources situation. This might be poor scheduling of the available resources, but this film crew is actually paying overtime for these officers to be out there managing traffic as they're filming. So then the question becomes, I guess some people have made some money off of it. So officers potentially extras, I don't know how much they get paid or whatever to be in a film. And maybe there's been some additional crew. Restaurants have obviously benefited. I mean, there's some benefit to the island with having an extra 100 people here. They're going to eat here. They're going to stay at facilities. They're going to rent homes and that sort of thing. But again, we have 4 or 5 films being filmed at this particular time. Maybe we should vet them a little bit more carefully. So Anne, good morning. So Anne on Facebook says, let me try to see. The Facebook comments are not really coming in on the computer. Hold on. Let me just close that out and see. Okay. Sandy, well, that was not the treatment I received at the Holiday Inn. My room was clean and the staff were very accommodating. I called several times for water and coffee and it was delivered very quickly. Security could be seen checking property every 20 to 30 minutes. Sue says, who's the manager there to report all this too? So I guess people have had different experiences because so someone else says the Holiday Inn is nasty. So we've gotten a few different viewpoints on the Holiday Inn. So this other person says the Holiday Inn is nasty. They do not clean the rooms thoroughly. My cousin contracted COVID after quarantining there because the person prior also tested COVID. You see what I'm telling you now? This is very suspicious. The person prior also tested COVID before they finished. So the public health needs to go in after each quarantine and check the place out. Plus, they do not repair anything. And the linens and pillows are not changed out. Now, that's a problem when you're talking about COVID. The pillows should be washed after every quarantine. Absolutely. But they are not. That's why some people are testing positive after quarantine at the Holiday Inn. And they're not fully staffed, trying to milk government. It's a nasty mess down there. They need to shut them down and clean the whole place. So another person who did not have a good experience at the Holiday Inn. And honestly, there should be, I agree with that person. There should be some degree of like inspection that happens, right? So all of the pillows, like the decorative pillows, if there's sofas there, whatever, all that stuff has to be properly sanitized, honestly, after a stay. And this is where the staff at the Holiday Inn should be informed, although the government's going to say, oh, this is a, situation, privacy, that room 103 has been compromised because a COVID person was in that room. So give that a little extra deep cleaning. It's like when the grocery stores or any local businesses, everybody had the situation during COVID, when they were testing positive, they would shut down for a day or two and do a deep additional sanitation. Special chemicals were used, special filters and all that kind of stuff. And I think that that's a good idea. Hello? How is COVID transmitted? Droplets that are in the air that land on stuff and on people. And then the other question is, how many rooms are at the Holiday Inn? I mean, I don't know how many rooms they have, right? But say, for argument's sake, they've got 400 rooms. They should rotate out those rooms to give them an opportunity to not be occupied. So say, for example, we use the 5th floor that has, I don't know how many rooms per floor, say 40, 50 rooms, right? The next group of people that come in shouldn't go on the 5th floor. You sanitize properly, you clean properly, deep cleaning, and then you leave those rooms vacant so that if you have any remnants of the virus kind of lurking around, let that room stay vacant for at least a couple weeks to try to kill the virus. Like, you shouldn't be rebooking rooms. And I don't know how Holiday Inn is doing it, so I'm not accusing them of doing this, but I'm just saying from a sanitation perspective, these are some of the requirements that government should have in place. Like, they should have said, yes, we're obviously renting this facility at a premium cost, but these are our expectations. Like, we should never be able to see photos like that coming from the Holiday Inn. And rotate out your rooms. Don't stick people in the same room all the time. All these types of things. So I don't know if they're doing it or not. Someone else on Facebook says they care zero, called to inquire about PCR testing and the date should be taken. And they were very much confused, forever saying they'll call back the room to inform you. And it wasn't until late in the afternoon versus the morning. Gross. Someone else says she's a young individual. Sadly, she's not working it Cheyenne Hall is her name. Who's Cheyenne Hall? I don't know who that is in reference to. Good morning, James, joining us from Canada. Zambula says, depending on who you are, because it's a filthy hotel, food is disgusting, and they have no care in the world for you until it's the day of the PCR testing. Purple Rain, good morning, says the radio host is at 106, said that he got a role as a policeman, WTF. Okay. A redhead guy with an American accent as a Caribbean police seems typical. Well, Purple Rain, we do have police officers from all over the place. Let's talk about that, actually. So over the weekend, we had 2 operations last week that caught a lot of attention. One was on Thursday by A.L. Thompson. So we talked about that one on Friday morning. And there was another hotel. There was another police stint with involved in the firearm unit that occurred in the vicinity of CUC. So a person was arrested, somebody was taken down, and there was this whole big thing about it, right? We got a lot of photos, we got a lot of video footage of the situation. I think they're all on my phone right now. Okay, so let me just see here now. So we got, who was it that sent me some photos? I'm trying to remember. Anyway, we got a lot of photos of the incident. I'm just trying to remember who sent me some stuff. Because we did actually, for the videos, we took out the audio because there was some audio and stuff. So yes, we have the firearm unit there. There was a number of police officers. So someone was sending around some commentary on the police officers, like, oh, where these white people come out from, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, here's where, as Caymanians, we need to back it up a little bit, and we need to take several steps backwards. I have no issue, and in fact, I wholeheartedly support officers being Caymanian and Caymanians getting the first priority when it comes to jobs. However, when it comes to policing, I can also fully understand why it is. So these guys, someone said, these guys are all masked up. I'm wondering if they're from Cayman or elsewhere. The way they move about yesterday and today look like they're guys from Jamaica or the US. Must be called Operation Barbuza. Wouldn't be surprised. This is a message that was sent to me on Friday. And got your be a sting operation going on. So someone posted this whole thing on Friday evening after this operation happened early on Friday that, oh, you know, these have to be American or Jamaican cops or whatever. And so I thought about that for a split second, and I'm like, well, what would be the issue? Because first of all, let me show you guys the pictures from Friday in case you missed the story. It was on our social media pages. I don't know if we actually put something up on the website, but there's a guy that they detained in his work clothes, a single guy. We don't yet know why he was detained, why he was arrested. Presumably he will show up in court this morning, maybe with some charges. They may still be questioning him. These guys are wearing police. They're obviously part of the firearms unit. They are wearing bulletproof vests. And yes, I mean, some of them have their faces covered, which is a good idea. Because remember, I told you all that on Thursday. When you are involved in tactical work, folks, that's what you do. Cover your faces. Don't be calling CMR about, can you take the video down because their officers are exposed? No, sir. You take the necessary precautions beforehand. Cover your faces, et cetera, et cetera. The police should, in fact, have plates that they can exchange out. So in case someone, takes a photo or identifies a plate that belongs to the that particular unit, the armed unit, they have other plates that they just change out, and you never get used to any particular plate. I shouldn't be telling you all how to do your job, but I'm just giving you some suggestions. So we see a couple Caucasian men in this photo. It looks like most of them are men of color. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them are colored people, which could mean anything. I mean, just because you're colored people don't mean you're Caribbean. You could be from anywhere. And then we have 2 that are obviously Caucasian men. And so this idea that, oh, these are foreigners and we can't hire our own, listen to me very, very carefully. When it comes to certain type of work, I understand why there is a hesitation to hire Caymanians. Number one, y'all talk too much. We know this. How y'all think we get to know everything that's going on in this country? Because y'all talking. That's how we know COVID. We know our press conference before it's even scheduled. We know everything because Caymanians love to chat. And at the highest levels, they're chatting your business. Okay? So even when the government was trying to form, the government, ministers, and leaders of this country can't keep it to themselves. You know what they should have done to them during the negotiations? That's why they had people calling Isaac, Sabrina, Kenneth. They were calling everybody. I heard a certain person connected to Miss Cayman was the lead person to call around on behalf of the progressives to try to flip people. Listen to me. You come into the room. We're here to form the government. You've agreed to form the government with this group of people. They should have had a deadbolt situation where when you enter that room, all cell phone signals are dead. Boom. No information is going to get out about the negotiations. But y'all know we had the scoop. Oh, McKeeva's walking into the building right now. So when you're undertaking certain high-level operations, that you don't want these criminals, because they're much smarter than the police a lot of times, you don't want them to know what is going on. Rest assured that the best way to do it is to oftentimes have expats involved who don't even know what's going on in the community. That makes good sense. That's good policing. So this isn't the time to be trying to lambast the police to say, oh yes, you know, all these tactical officers should be Caymanians. No. In fact, you know what they do in a lot of places that are very, very small like Cayman? That's why they can't clean up the BRAC. That's why the BRAC is such a hot mess, right? Too small and everybody know everybody and everybody know your mama. And the second an operation is going to go down, people are too informed about it and the police can never catch the culprits. Because we got some people pushing some serious drugs. Purple Rain says colored people. I never heard that one in ages. Well, whatever. I don't even know what the politically correct term is. We can't call them black anymore. I don't know if they're Caribbean. So I can't say Caribbean, Afro-Caribbean, African-American. I don't care. They're black, they're colored, they're whatever. Okay. But yes, I mean, this is craziness, right? The BRAC got all kind of drug dealing going on. Some serious drugs be pushing through the BRAC. And nothing can happen because every time somebody's going to get, in fact, I even hear that government workers who work on the road for government are out there trafficking the drugs on the BRAC. And everybody knows this. Now, how can everybody know it, including me, and nobody ever gets arrested and nothing's ever been done about it? Because too many people talking, okay? The officers there they're talking. So sometimes you have to bring in people. A lot of small places, they bring people in, carry it on operation, and then they ship them out. So they never get to know or get too comfortable with the local community. So Jazara is in agreement. She said exactly. Anne says true. Janita is having a good laugh. But you understand what I'm saying? It's just like, let's listen. Let's hear what they arrested this young man for. We do have a name. Y'all know what from Friday we had a name. Let's see what the charge is. The talk on the street is these operations have been in relation to the recent shootings last weekend, which are very, very serious offenses. If the police are trying to take people off of our streets who are involved in that type of activity, gun activity, shooting, whatever, please, by all means, let us all be willing to help the police and support them in that endeavor. We do not need to become another Miami with all kind of shooting foolishness going on. All these unsolved crimes. Right? We don't need to be another Kingston where a shooting in the daytime is the norm and nobody blinks an eye. And there was a little video going around that was kind of funny about that, because people were like, only in Jamaica do you hear a shootout happening and you don't run from it, you run to it to get some video footage. That's life, folks, in a lot of big cities. And that is what we're really trying to avoid in the Cayman Islands. So if the police want to clean up our streets, especially when it comes to gun violence, who wouldn't be supportive of that? Here's another report that came out yesterday in the Miami news. There's a lady, she's age 35, and her daughter, only 16 years old, were found shot in the head. Listen how crazy this is. Both of them shot to death in the head in Houston, Texas. They're originally from Honduras, two Honduran nationals, mother and daughter. And of course, the Honduran news, Teleciba, reported on this to say that they'd been found lifeless in their own residence, both shot in the head in Texas. The world is crazy, folks. And we're not trying to be part of the craziness, especially when it comes to the crime. That's what we all love about Cayman, that it's relatively crime-free. The police trying to do their job, I don't care where they're from, to be honest, as long as they are good officers. So I don't care what color they are. I don't care if they're English, if they're whatever. I think there are some benefits to having Caymanians sometimes at certain levels in the force, because there are things, even from a cultural perspective, that Caymanians will get and Caymanians will understand. But it is also necessary to have a great degree of diversity, especially with these types of tactical operations. There's one or two Filipino officers now on the force, and they come in very, very handy in terms of speaking their language and maybe even knowing what's going on in the community. But you always have to keep an eye on people who are attached to different communities, because sometimes they are about protecting their own. That's a complaint we get all the time about the Jamaican nationals, right? That you go to a Jamaican officer and you make a complaint. If you're making a complaint against another Jamaican, they're more likely to take the side of that individual. That has to be weeded out. So you have to incorporate into the security services individuals who, respective of where, regardless of where they're from, that they understand that the law has to apply equally to everyone. And so, yes, you don't curry favor with people just because they're from your country or whatever. And let me be very clear. Part of that is human nature. Part of that is just psychological. It's not necessarily that they're even intending to do so, but a lot of that is how the human brain works. You see someone that's like you, that's similar to you, you're going to give them preferential treatment. But officers need to know better. So now this whole concept of someone else playing a Caribbean officer, well, let's be honest, when you look at the force, there is a degree of diversity, but it would have been nice, especially in a film, if there were more Caymanians actually represented, if the film was to take place here. I don't know if they're filming here, but it's actually a different location, because, you know, they do that in films a lot. They might film at a particular location, but they're pretending it's somewhere else. But there's nothing more disgusting than seeing someone who's supposed to be a Caribbean person, even in terms of like Jamaicans, and it's not a Jamaican playing a Jamaican. It's like somebody else trying to put on a Jamaican accent. And you're like, could you really not find the Jamaican? I mean, listen, Jamaica's a big country. In Jamaica, they've got a population of at least 3 million. That doesn't include all the people outside of Jamaica. You couldn't find a Jamaican with an authentic accent to play a part, something is wrong. So if the person was trying to really be a Caymanian officer, I would hope that they could have found someone who fit the bill a little bit better. So Marshall's YouTube says, I agree with you. Everybody knows everyone in Cayman, so it's best to bring in people to do certain operations. Hello, Lucky Body. What's up? Cultural diversity is essential in any organization. Absolutely. Aliana says we need to think about this more critically. Yes. When it comes to national level of conversation, any nation is strongly involved with some kind of pride for one national We have to have a more deep-rooted breakdown as to why we are so messed up, so unqualified, lacking so many means of professionalism. Is this a problem of a mixed nation, yes or no? But at the end of the house, my people needs to be improved from the top to the bottom. If we can't be Caymanian in our own country, then where? That too. Here's the other thing of note, Aliano. So over the weekend, the Filipino community celebrated their 123rd Independence Day from Spain. Now, a lot of you might not have known this, and this is why a lot of Filipinos have Spanish-sounding names. And in fact, some of them are bilingual, and they're remnants of Spanish in their culture and, in the Filipino languages, and even a little bit in food. So let me tell you when they were taken over. They're taken over by Spain. So they celebrated it on June the 12th every year. It's a national holiday in the Philippines, and they gained their independence from Spain in 1898. So really not that long ago when you think about it. How long were the Spaniards there for? So they had a revolution that began in 1896, and then the Pact of Bayaknabato, don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, was signed on December the 14th, 1897, establishing a truce between the Spanish colonial government and the Filipino revolutionaries. Under its terms, Emilio Aguinaldo and other revolutionary leaders went into exile in Hong Kong after receiving 400,000 pesos from the Spanish government. Well, why did they go in exile? So at the outbreak of the Spanish-American War, y'all need to know a little bit about history here this morning. Commodore George Dewey sailed from Hong Kong to Manila Bay, leading the U.S. Navy Asiatic Squadron. And on May the 1st, 1898, Dewey defeated the Spanish in the Battle of Manila Bay, which effectively put the U.S. in control of the Spanish colonial government, which is interesting. Later that month, the U.S. Navy transported Aguinaldo back to the Philippines, and he arrived on May the 19th of 1898. So by June the 5th, he issued a decree located at Aguinaldo House, which has been known as Cavite el Viejo, proclaiming that June the 12th, 1898 as a day of independence. Okay. So they did this 21-page declaration, blah, blah, blah. So that was the day that the Filipinos got their independence from Spain. And so to this day, they celebrate that as a big day, and now they're celebrating 123 years. So the Philippines failed to win international recognition of its independence, specifically including from the United States and Spain. And the Spanish government later ceded the Filipino archipelago to the United States in the 1898 Treaty of Paris. So all sorts of, remember when they used to steal each other's land and then do all this kind of stuff. So at that time, the Philippines revolutionary government did not recognize the treaty, and the two sides subsequently fought for what was known as the Philippine-American War. Didn't even know that existed, but there you go. So eventually, the United States of America granted independence to the Philippines on July the 4th of 1946. In accordance with the Philippine Independence Act, President Harry S. Truman issued the proclamation at 2695 of July the 4th, 1946, officially recognizing the independence of the Philippines. Took them a minute. On the same day, the Treaty of Manila was signed. And they chose that July 4th day because that is Independence Day in the U.S. So listen to this bit of history. That day was observed in the Philippines as Independence Day until 1962. On May the 12th of 1962, President Diosdado Macapagal issued Presidential Proclamation number 28, where he declared June the 12th a special public holiday throughout the Philippines because of the Spanish connection. And then he renamed July the 4th as a Filipino Republic Day. So they still celebrate July the 4th, which is when the US decided to recognize them, but they name it something different. So June the 12th is Independence Day. July the 4th for them is the Republic Day. And, they're then observing their independence. So anyway, I'm curious to know, when did the Spaniards go and take over the Philippines? Anyway, so they celebrate this weekend. So the Spaniards were in the Philippines for 323 years. Wow. Who knew that? Oh my God. Very, very interesting. From 1565 until 1898, the Philippines was under Spanish rule. They were a Spanish colony. Interesting. Wow. Never knew. So I knew there was some kind of Spanish connection because you can see it in the language and you can see it in a lot of the names and so forth as well. So apparently the Portuguese were navigating the Philippines area. And then in 1543, there's a lot of islands in the Philippines. This guy named it Las Islas Filipinas in honor of Philip II of Spain. That's where they got their name from. Wow, I never knew that. But anyway, so they were celebrating this weekend. This is a very interesting history of the Philippines. They were celebrating this weekend, and I saw a couple comments. We sent out a congratulatory message to them, as well as other people. Sherry Arch joining us from Florida. Thank you so much, Sherry. Congratulating them on their 123rd independence. And then some of you Caymanians were like, well, why are we even talking about this in the Cayman Islands? Why are we celebrating this? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, listen, sometimes y'all just a little bit much. First of all, I think people have a right to celebrate their heritage no matter where they are. That's like me going to Miami, living in Tampa, living in Florida, and you telling me that I can no longer be a Caymanian because I live in America. I'm just like, what? I'm always a Caymanian first and foremost. If I'm an American and I'm in American soil, then I think that there's certain things that you are respectful of. And there's certain things that, yes, you do and maybe you don't do. But for people to have little celebrations, they get together, they might even have a little parade or whatever. What's the big deal? You're halfway around the world, away from your family and friends, celebrating what in their country would be a national holiday. If they want to get together at Mango Tree and do a little celebration, invite other people out to enjoy and celebrate with them, I'm not hating on it. Like, legit, I'm not hating on it. I think that, again, sometimes we don't always grasp and understand human nature, right? So as human beings, we gravitate towards things that we are familiar with, things that we know, that are comfortable. That includes our culture, our own people, our own foods. Caymanians, most of y'all can't even go past Miami for university. Heaven forbid you go to Texas or New York, or, if you go to the UK, what's the first thing you do when you go to the UK as a Caymanian? Do you not seek out other Caymanians? Be honest now. Don't y'all be lying to me. The first thing you do is, okay, where are the Caymanians? You put on Facebook, oh, I'm in London. Hit me up if you're a Caymanian. Why don't you go hanging out with the other people in London that are not Caymanians? Because that's human nature. You like the familiarity. You like the comfort of home. And if you can't find a Caymanian, then you do the next best thing. And you find yourself a Caribbean person. Am I right or am I right? Well, I can't find a Caymanian. Okay, let me search for Jamaican. Can't find a Jamaican? Anybody from the Bahamas, Trinidad, somebody. you know, we just gravitate towards what is familiar. We want sometimes a familiar cuisine. Caymanians go to the UK and they tell you, oh my God, the English food is horrible. It has no flavor. They don't cook with no spice. People walk around with Tabasco in their bag in the UK and in the US because they're like, I need to spice up my life when these people cook for me because it's so disgusting. Not that it's disgusting to us. Let me put it that way, because we're not used to that. We like a little bit extra seasoning, but everybody's different. And again, that's what we gravitate to. We're going to be looking for the Caribbean food, the curry chicken, the jerk stand, something when we travel. And that is just part of how it works. Tommy says you are so right, Sandy. Yes. So when people do the opposite and they come to us in our country, now I think what has happened in Cayman that is a bit unique and different is that we have so many nationalities here that we as Caymanians do feel outnumbered in our own country. And that is also a legit feeling that I will acknowledge and accept. And if we're not ready for that level of diversity, then you know what? The government and the people need to make that decision and do something about it. But I don't agree with letting people into your country and then trying to treat them like shit and trying to tell them, well, when you come here, you must lose your Filipino identity. Richard says, no, I don't. I stay away from Caribbean community. Well, some people will go out of their comfort zone and look to explore and, just broaden their horizons. The majority of the people, good morning, Benji. The majority of the people simply do not do that. They do the opposite. In fact, even when I was in university, I had lived in the States for a really long time, so I didn't have that connection to the Caymanian culture, the Caymanian people, but I would see it all the time. Once people found out that you're from the Cayman Islands, they're like, oh, we need to be best friends. I'm like, okay. Is that the only criteria that I'm a Caymanian? So it is a little bit weird, but that's how people are. And I would see all the time people, in university life wanting to hang out with Caribbean people. They had a Caribbean student body, like a Caribbean club or whatever. There was the Indian people had their own little club and association. People like to get together. They share commonality, foods, religious beliefs, cultural beliefs, whatever. Shirley says, in the UK, the further north you travel, the better the food gets. By the time you're up in northern Scotland, the food is quite tasty. Oh, so do the Scottish people know how to really season up their food? Miss Darlene says that she's like Richard. She stays far away from her own. Yeah, some people will do it, but the vast majority of people, they're seeking out that comfort of, the Caribbean link up, the Caymanian link up. Sue says that's because some people can't cook good food, but a lot of us can cook good, tasty food. And Sue is speaking as someone who is from the UK. So she says she's got the recipe down for tasty food. So yes, congratulations to the Filipino community. Don't be hating just because they're celebrating their little 123rd Independence Day, which is a big deal for them. The other thing I would say of interest is that this concept of diversity and integration goes in both directions. So I get it. And I think as the Filipino community continues to live in the Cayman Islands, they're also getting it more, that they also need to be inclusive. So when they have their events, you can't say that this is a Filipino only event, include other people. But I find that, a lot of times I'm not so sure that they know how to do it, right? They don't know how to be as inclusive, but once you extend the olive branch, they will reciprocate. And I see it all the time. So big shout out to David at Prodigy and Cheryl. He has a Filipino young lady working for him. And when David had his birthday party, David invited Cheryl and her Filipino friends. They were fantastic. They contributed to the party. They cooked some dishes. They brought cakes, all kind of stuff. Their version of cassava cake, which is a little bit different than our version of cassava cake. They show up and they had a fantastic time and they roasted a pig and brought that to the festivities, they will show up and have a good time. You extend the olive branch in both directions. And I think it's a win-win situation. And since then, they've been inviting me to all of their events. I get invited all the time. I wanted to go this weekend to they had a 5K walk on Sunday morning. I wanted to go, but my husband actually had to work all day on Sunday. So I was on mommy duty. So I was not able to go. But yes, and I appreciate it. And whenever I can, I go out and I support, because I feel like I'm supporting the Caymanian community within the Filipino community. You know what I'm saying? And that's important to do. Thank you, Miss Doreen. She's watching the show on Facebook. Darlene says the majority of Filipinos are very nice people and happy, and they love to cook and party just like us. Julie says, we don't feel outnumbered. We are. Well, numerically, yes, Julie. But I think that there are things that, again, if we want to, it's us, who invite people to come to our country. If we don't, then we close the borders and we say nobody comes in. We take that mentality, which may not be the best mentality, but if that's what we're going to do, then that's what we're going to do. But if we open the borders, I think that at the end of the day, we need to be inclusive of others, and we expect them to also be inclusive of us. Yes? I think that's only fair. But if you kind of have this mentality already that you're not willing to accept people, then that in and of itself will not give you probably the results that you were looking for. Capiche? I think we all understand precisely where I'm coming from. So Carson says, so Sandy, you eat dog or cat? No, Carson, I do not eat either one. I eat pork, and I know what a pig looks like. And so that's what I was having that day, pig and chicken and Cayman style beef and other such foods. Carson, I don't personally believe in eating domesticated animals. I do know that in certain cultures, especially Asian cultures, that may be a thing. But I also know that there are people in the world who think that we're disgusting for eating things like turtle. And trust me, I think I got some leftover turtle from Sunday that I'm probably going to go and eat later on today. And I could see, looking at the cute little turtle, why people would think, ew, you're actually going to eat that? Because there's certain parts of the turtle that I personally do not eat. That I listen, if I can't really identify it, I only want the turtle meat. I don't want the manavlin and the little, I don't even know what part of the turtle looks like, these little spiky things. Listen, that has to be probably as disgusting as eating a dog as well. But because we have domesticated dogs, we have a different relationship with them. Not everybody looks at a dog in the same way. That's like people who eat what we want to call Cayman rabbit, which is actually a rodent, a gootie. We've probably all had a gootie. I'm sure a lot of our American friends would look at us and think, you people are savages. What are you doing eating a gootie? So appreciating that there's certain cultural and culinary differences, just because I embrace people without trying to be prejudiced towards them, that doesn't mean that I'm going to go out and do everything that they do, believe everything that they do, and eat everything that they eat either. That's not what we're talking about here. We don't have to go to that extent. So Linda says, it's not that people think that it's ew to eat turtle. It's because they're critically endangered, not to do with them being selfish or cute. Well, I think for some people, it's not even about the endangered part. They just think it's disgusting. Legit. Like some people are just like, that's disgusting to eat a turtle. See, Carson says turtle meat is the greatest thing God found for man to eat. Well, maybe some people think that about some other things too. I'm just saying. It is what it is. Oh, my apologies to the YouTube people. I've left that picture out way too long. Yeah. So, I mean, these are things that we can certainly have the discussion for sure. There's certain things I will never eat, just like tripe. A lot of people in the Caribbean love them some tripe. I am not eating no tripe and beans, okay? For the most part, except for liver, which is, again, something you just got used to eating. Maybe if I had a choice as a kid and I really knew what the liver was all about, I probably would never touch liver. But, you grew up eating liver. So I'm like, okay, I love me some liver and green bananas and a little dumpling here and there. It is what it is. I do believe that most of us can be a little bit more tolerant and understanding of other people. Now, you know what is so weird? The Filipino community actually really loves CMR. I don't really know why, but they do. And the interesting thing about them is that at one point, they didn't like CMR because we were asking questions that they didn't like the question. And perhaps they were offended how it was being asked. But, I guess at some point we've offended everybody here in this program. And we're going to ask the question because sometimes we're just seeking to understand. We're seeking to have a discussion. And so we're talking about one of the questions that really got the Filipino community a little bit hot and bothered was when there was some discussion. I think it was because someone asked us the question. And a lot of times we're sharing stuff, we're posting stuff. It's not our opinion. It's community opinion or community questions that we're just putting out there. And it got a lot of discussion. And so some people thought CMR is being prejudiced because they're even daring to ask the question. It's like, not really, but about people's housing arrangements and, how people live in like a shared accommodation and so some people were offended that we asked the question. And so I remember distinctly at that point that a lot of people in the Filipino community were very, very upset with us about this. And it was kind of one of those things where it was like, really? Why are y'all getting upset with us when we're just asking what a lot of people are very curious about? Like, why do people share accommodations in this way? Because that is not a Caymanian thing. That is not something that we are used to. And so, I think they took offense to it when none was even meant. But it's like, we just stood our ground and we're like, I don't think you understand why the question was asked and why there's a discussion around it and why Caymanians don't necessarily see it that way as being like normal. And so then they started to explain why they do it and that in their homes back in the Philippines, they wouldn't necessarily do that, but it's a matter of economics. Coming to the Cayman Islands where it's relatively expensive, but they can make it if they do a lot of shared accommodations, which is a very sort of different arrangement, different situation. So, you learn from each other and now I'm like their best friends. And I think that honestly, what people don't get, and this is where CMR will always just be different, I suppose, at the end of the day. We're not here to curry favor with people and to try to be like just people's friends. We're here to like just keep it real, and sometimes keeping it real means that we're going to offend Caymanians. We're going to offend our American friends. We're going to offend the English. We're going to offend the Filipinos. We're going to offend all sorts of people. And we still keep it real. And we're still like genuinely asking the questions that everybody is maybe sometimes afraid to ask. And this leads to, I think, us having discussions in our communities that we're not always comfortable with. But after we hash it out, we can still sit down and have a drink. We can still sit down and break bread. It's not all that. And I think people should not take it personal. And sometimes it's just a matter of us as people getting to recognize our differences, talking about those differences. And sometimes we need to be honest. Like, why do we feel a certain way about people? Why do we think a certain way about an entire group of people? Right? Yes, we are prejudging them. We're doing all of that. And I think that ultimately shying away from the discussion is never useful. Having the discussion can be difficult. It can be hard, but at the end of the day, when the discussion happens, if you're sensible in how you do it, I think you can walk away just being like, you know what, that was good. It was good to talk it out. It was good to feel out how we all feel about each other. And now let's just move on, call it a day, and it is what it is. So the good news is these days, I think more and more as we have this platform, people kind of understand how it works and what we're all about. Yes. Just having a quick look at a few things here. I think that's all I've got for you. So on Friday, we were going to go to court for the young lady who is being, her and her son, who are being accused of stealing a child. By the way, I see that the international news has now picked up on that story, as would be expected. I mean, that's quite an allegation, to be honest. So we found out that nothing happened actually on Friday, that the DPP hadn't yet had the file ready. So the indictment wasn't prepared yet. DPP, get your lives together. You know, I have been in that situation where they accuse you of something and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to have my day in court. I'm ready to prove my innocence. And you show up to court and they're like, oh yeah, we don't have the indictment ready. I'm like, you're accusing me of something. Don't you think you should be ready to do this? The indictment is just the documentation to say formally what you've been charged with and what the allegations are. And that's the document that the court gets so that then you can plead guilty or not guilty. And of course, now the DPP are the ones who are holding up the process. So, you know, sort yourselves out, DPP. You've accused this woman of child cruelty and stealing somebody's child. I saw the very lengthy investigation. The least of it now that the DPP's office can do is have the indictment ready on the date that they're supposed to have it ready. So it's a grand court matter. And so you need to have the indictment ready for grand court. Sometimes they slack as they want to be. So Sue says, yes, I'm a Caymanian and my family are too. And she doesn't like it, referring to turtle meat. And by the way, not every Caymanian likes turtle meat either. Miss Anne says, I believe they're known as good tenants because they pay their rent in full and on time. Miss Evelyn, thank you. She says, totally in agreement. Benji says, I think it's because you are real, Miss Sandy. Thank you. Well, not everybody likes real, but that's what you're going to get here in CMR. Purple Reen says, all of Filipinos should speak English or they have no business working in the Cayman Islands. I agree that anyone, whether they're a Filipino or not, Spaniards as well, should speak English. And I have come across more Spanish people who don't speak proper English than Filipino people. I must be honest with you. All right, so what's going on this morning? Is there another car accident? Yes, honey child. Where's this one now? Oh, Lord. By the Compass roundabout. That intersection has got to be cursed. No, sir. So I've got 3 people simultaneously sending me video footage of this accident. So, folks, if you're in town, avoid the Jake Scott intersection, Compass intersection. An accident has just happened there. I've got multiple people sending me the footage. Looks like it's pretty bad. Somebody was running the red light or the orange light or amber light or whatever we're going to call it, because that is like a, whoo, somebody got a good slam. Let me just show you guys here. Hold on, YouTubers. Let me share this video with you. What a mess.
Too early for this, man.
Wow. That car got it on the front and the back. So I don't know if it got hit twice. Let's play that again.
Too early for this, man.
Of course, I get too early for this. Wow. Good luck with that in Cayman, honey jail. Hold on. Let's play another one. So I've got like 4 different angles of this accident plus a photo. So here's another one that someone has shared. That intersection. That one, Bobby Thompson by the cricket field, always an accident. And A.L. Thompson's roundabout. Look at this. Jeez, on peace. So it looks like they were turning, from the looks of it maybe, to go. Actually, I need to look at that angle again. Anyway, white vehicle involved in an accident. I don't see what hit it, but obviously another vehicle must have hit it. Folks, yep, it's too early for it, but there you go. Accident on Cayman roadways yet again. Can we just slow down and learn how to drive? Okay, BT Real Caymanians love their turtle. We are not seeing the video. Yes, Adriana, I know, because I'm doing, in case you missed it at the beginning of the show, I'm in Facebook jail for 24 hours, 12 more hours to go. Actually, let me double check. And so I think it's 12 more hours. Anyway, because I'm in Facebook jail, I can't show the show like how I normally would. And what to do? 12 more hours of Facebook jail. Yes. So soon come. Don't worry. Oh my God. Look at this poor 15-year-old baby, Nicholas Crowder, who was found in his car seat on a bedroom floor, died from starvation and dehydration, his autopsy reported, after his mother fatally overdosed. Oh, that's horrible. Wow. A toddler was strapped inside his car seat and died from starvation and dehydration after the mother had a fatal overdose, autopsies have revealed. Aww. This was in Tennessee in February. So sad. I always think, why do people do drugs with their children present, even if they're babies? Like, wouldn't you try to go and put the baby somewhere else so the baby could get help? Or just try to find a babysitter? But normally when you're doing drugs, you're obviously not thinking critically at all. What a mess. Anyway, it is what it is. So for the next 12 hours, I can't comment on Facebook with my primary account. I can't like anything, blah, 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 blah. It is what it is. Yes? Yes. Okay, that's all we got, folks. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. So yes, my dear, we had to do a little makeshift thing here, Adriana. So because of that, you can't really see the video. Janita says, you're doing your own thing. You go to jail too. No, sir. More people, more cars, more accidents, long as no one gets hurt. That's the main thing. Well, my pocketbook gonna be hurt because y'all know that our policies remain high because of all of these accidents, because they're like, everybody can drive in Cayman, so everybody has to pay a higher premium, which is kind of sad because I can't remember the last time. Oh, let me not jinx myself, but knock on wood, I can't legit remember the last time that I was in an accident. I've had a few here, and thankfully none of them have been my fault. Just other drivers like driving mad. So, yeah, but we all pay the price ultimately. What a hot mess. All right, folks. So, Facebook, folks, you know, we did it from the phone. I think it worked okay. At least you guys still got to log in and watch it. And YouTubers, thank you so much. You could always go to YouTube, good folks, and watch the show there, of course. And yeah, a good number, over 100 people stayed on the YouTube feed. So we appreciate it. David says, rattle the cell door. Oh my goodness. 12 more hours and we're out of Facebook jail. And you know what? Since I've started CMR and I've gotten really busy on CMR, if you're a personal Facebook friend of mine, you notice that I hardly post anything on my personal page. Like before, I was posting like every day, multiple hours a day. Blah, blah, blah. And to be quite frank, I hardly do that. Like I just don't have time to post as much as I used to. So, you know, sometimes I get like a memory that comes up and I'll like reshare a memory. Like I do a lot of those, especially stuff with my daughter. Oh, she was so cute. Look at this little picture of her. She was enjoying some nursery rhymes. Oh, she's such a little patootie. And then stuff of Coco. Oh my gosh, there's a picture of Coco on June the 2nd from 2012 that I shared on my page. I reshared that memory. And anything with mangoes, I'm always sharing mangoes and sauce. So yeah, so I don't do as much on my personal page anymore just because I'm so busy for work purposes that honestly, who has time? I got to show you my daughter. This was from May 30th of 2017. So she was born in August of 2016. And this is a picture of her. So YouTube people will see this. Eating her first ever mango. So look at this. Isn't this funny? There she is, turned mango, of course. I didn't give her any salt or pepper on it, but I gave her a little piece of mango. And there she was, like, I think it was actually helping her with the teething at the time. So she was really gnawing on that mango and enjoying it. And now she loves turned mangoes. Anytime she sees me eating, here she comes. Can I have some mango? But you know what? She likes it with salt and not pepper, just because she likes salty things. And I'm like, no. Not too much on the salt, young lady. So that's one of those Cayman traditions, passing on to her. Carson says, free up Sandy. Parole for Sandy, says Elizabeth. Soon come, don't worry. Evelyn says she lost one of her hoop earrings. Where can I send it for you to post? Just send it on WhatsApp. We'll get that out. We reunited 2 people on Saturday with their wallets. 2 people on Sunday, I think, with their wallets and ID, and 1 person on Saturday. So yes, Facebook jail. That's where it's at. Some of you get put in Facebook jail a lot. And to be honest, I haven't been in Facebook jail in a while. So I'm kind of not feeling too bad about it. It just is what it is. It's only 24 hours. What's 24 hours? 4 hours. Soon done. All right, good folks. That's all she wrote. Be good. I need to go to the salon today because you see the hair is kind of looking a little bit jacked. So I'm going to get some curls put in. You guys know I've been doing my whole natural hair transition, and it is actually really thick. I just need to like grow it out now because a certain hairdresser cut it beyond what I wanted it cut. So she knows who she is. So I think I need to do a little bit of color soon around the edges. And then, yes, I'm going to get it curled again this week. The curly look is working for me right now because it just keeps it moist and keeps everything under control. And there's a lot of people who really they're like, I like you with curls, like the really tight, like curls. So it's only here. So I think I will do that. Thank you, Evelyn. Have a blessed day. Benji, no bail money required. So don't worry. Just the passage of time will free me up. So I'm not to worry. I've not seen my family, the neighborhood of Gucci, in a while. I don't know if they're hibernating, if they're having babies, what it is that they're doing, but they've been missing since the election. Maybe now that the election excitement is over, they're just like, what is there to see and do? Driving by the CMR window has gotten kind of boring. So we'll be back here tomorrow. We should be back out of Facebook jail. So it'll be the regular show. And we'll be talking about some court cases. I did see there's a few things popping off in Grand Court this week that we will definitely be keeping an eye on. There is a trial going on, or that's starting, for breach of trust. Evita Ann Dixon. I don't even know who she is, but it's set down for 3 weeks. We have just Sean Owen Anthony Johnson for murder. That's a 10-day trial, judge alone, with Justice Chappelle. And there was the drug one with a bunch of people. That's 4 people. That one is going to resume on Wednesday, the 16th. So that'll be tomorrow. So I think that's all. That's all we got. All right. So y'all be good. Yeah, I don't know what this Evita case is about. I'll have to get some details on that one. All right. So y'all be good until tomorrow. We'll see ya. We'll play your outro music for those of you on YouTube, and have a blessed day.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.